What is going on, YouTube? We have an 11-game NBA Cup slate tonight on this Friday night. It should be a really fun night for us. We've been really hot to start the NBA season, and quite honestly, anything is better than that terrible NFL game that a lot of us sat through last night. So I'm looking forward to the slate today. In this video, I'll be going through my top bets for tonight. I have a lot of them. I actually have 6 normal bets and a few parlay fillers for us. A bit more than normal, but I'll touch on that in a minute. Before I get into the plays and the analysis and the strategies and everything, a couple quick reminders like normal. Number one, join the free Discord server. The link to join it is located in the description below. We have a really good community in there. There's about 1,700 people in the server, and it's a lot of fun during the NFL and NBA seasons too, when there's all the sports going on at the same time. So come in there, show your plays, ask your questions, drop your bets, just be an active member of the community. Number two, if you want to become a VIP and see every single bet that I'm actually placing with my money, so like actual screenshots of all of my slips in Underdog Fantasy and PrizePicks, you'll become a VIP. And if you want to sign up for a 7-day free trial, use the link down below and you'll get 7 days of VIP for free. Or you can sign up using my code LayTheHouseRM on Underdog Fantasy, or by using the link below for Underdog Fantasy. Send me a DM of a screenshot after you sign up and deposit, and I'll send you a link for 3 months for free of the VIP. So that gets you basically the entire NFL season up until the playoffs, and that gets you most of the NBA season up until the All-Star break completely free just for signing up with Underdog Fantasy. And then lastly, the website that I'm using here is called Outlier.bet. It's my favorite research tool. I use it every single day for NBA, for NFL, and then WNBA in the summer. You can use it for college football, college basketball, soccer, hockey, MLB. I just stick to the sports that I'm good at, but it saved me so much time over the last couple of years with my research and my process finding these trends. So like I said before, I have a lot of plays today. There's 6 straight bets, and it looks like 3 parlay fillers I'm going to talk about for us. That's a lot more volume than I normally have on a regular slate. So, when I have a lot of plays like this, that doesn't mean I'm playing more money. I always play around the same amount of money every single night with my bets, whether it's across 3 players or across like 15 players. Main reason for that is just bankroll management. You need to be smart with your money and make it sustain as long as possible, because there are always going to be days where you lose every single bet that you place, but then there's also going to be days where you win every single bet you place too. But you just want to stay steady. You want to let the results speak for themselves. We're in this for the long haul. So even though I have 6 straight bets and 3 parlay fillers, I'm still playing the same amounts. I'm just having different combinations, a bunch of different, like more slips, but less money on each slip, if that makes sense, just so I can touch all the bases, cover all the combinations, because you never know which combo is going to be the winning combo. That's the tough part with betting on Underdog Fantasy and PrizePicks and doing all these parlays. But anyways, let's get into the plays here, because it's going to take a little bit. I have a lot of them, and I wouldn't be shocked if this video, gets up near 15-20 minutes or so when it's all said and done. So let's get into it here. First play is one that you guys are going to hate me for, because we're going back to it again for the 3rd time in a row, even though we lost the last game. SGA under 44.5 PRA. If you've been watching me for a bit, if you watch these videos every single day, you're going to see me talk about a lot of the same props over and over again, especially as the same situations come up and the lines don't move. So, like always, I'm going to filter for games with Chet Holmgren in, because that's my favorite filter for the Thunder. Basically, I want to make sure that you're getting the 2 guys with the most usage in, and Holmgren isn't hurt tonight, at least as of now. He screwed us the other night, with the Phantom being ruled out, but kind of made sense on the second night of a back-to-back. I was a little bit afraid of it, but, there's nothing you can do in those scenarios. But last year, SGA went under this number in 19 out of 24 away games while Chet Holmgren was active. There is a blowout concern tonight, too. Oklahoma City is a 10.5-point favorite, which honestly, a lot of these games where he went under were games that Oklahoma City did win by 10 or more points. You see, he had 31 PRA in a blowout against the Jazz. 43 PRA in a blowout against Portland, 33 in a blowout against Chicago. Like, a lot of these games are blowouts on this sample size here. But this is a trend that I was on most of last season. We're going to ride it again this year. When Chet Holmgren's active, we take the SGA unders, especially on the road. Moving on to my next play, we're going with Franz Wagner over 25.5 points and rebounds. Now, Wagner looked awful the other night, like absolutely terrible. And he still ended up with 23 points and rebounds somehow on the game, even though it was a rough watch. But basically, if we look at the season as a whole, he's averaging 27.5 points and rebounds per game. He's gone over this number in 6 out of 8 games so far this year. We still have Mo Wagner out, his brother. And when we look at games last season with Mo Wagner out, and we could even filter further for just home games, Franz went over this number in 17 out of 22 home games last year, averaging 30.2 points and rebounds per game. It's a solid spot for him. And if you look at the head-to-head between him and the Celtics the last 2 seasons, basically last year in the playoffs, he went over this number in all 6 games against Boston last year, averaging 30.7 points and rebounds. Granted, his minutes were a little bit higher in these games because they were, higher leverage and stuff. And, he's down to like 35 minutes instead of the 40 minutes that you see in his head to head. But we don't even need to go by the head to head. It's still a solid trend, even looking at just last year as a whole. So Franz Wagner over 25.5 points and rebounds is my second play. I guess I'll touch on the parlay filler while I'm here since I have his player card up already. I'm actually on his over 24.5 PRA. Basically, he's gone over this number 92% of games the last 2 seasons, all 8 games this year. Even the game the other day, like I said, he looked absolutely horrible against the Hawks, yet he still got over the 25 PRA. Just a solid spot for him here. This line's too low. I'm shocked they even give it to us as a Green Goblin line on PrizePicks. But for the parlay fillers, you can either combine all those together or combine it with the straight bets too, however you want to do it. There's tons of avenues you could do with these, but I usually win them. Actually, NBA's this year has been like 80%, but typically I hit these around a 90%. So I'm expecting a little bit of a hot streak to happen on these as the year goes on, because over a 3-year sample size that I've been doing these, it's a 90% hit rate for NBA and NFL. NFL is running a little bit above expectation right now, and NBA's, we're early in the season, so we're a little bit below expectation at the moment, but it'll all even out as the season goes on. Play number 3 that I'm on, this is back to the straight bets. We're going with DeAndre Hunter, under 23.5 PRA. Now, if you're looking at his chart this year, it's going to be a bit scary. He's gone over this number in 4 out of 5 games. However, Darius Garland, he came back last game, and this is going to be the first game this season where Hunter and Garland are both going to play. Hunter is on the injury report right now. I don't know if he's probable at this point, so he's going to play most likely. But he got ruled out last game, so just be wary of that. It is a possibility that he may get ruled out. But looking at last season in games when Darius Garland plays and Donovan Mitchell plays, so you see this chart here, right? It shows 81%, 22 out of 27 games. But you actually have to look at this a little bit further. So if you're using Outlier, this is a nice little tip for you. You see these 3 games in the beginning? These are the 3 games where he was actually on the Hawks. So he was on the Hawks at this point, and then he got traded around, the trade deadline beginning of February here. And then on February 10th, that was his first game with Cleveland. So I need to filter out these 3 games when he was with Atlanta. So I'm going to go games without Trae Young. This might remove 1 game against Atlanta. I'm not fully sure, but if I remove Trae Young here, now this is showing the 24 games he played last season with Donovan Mitchell, with Darius Garland when he was on the Cavs. So he went under this number in 22 out of 24 games, only averaging 16.6 PRA in the sample size. Granted, his minutes were a little bit lower last year compared to what they were this year so far, but we don't have a sample of Garland being in yet. Hunter is a starter, so is Garland. I don't think they really take away from each other's minutes too much, but they definitely take away from each other's usage, and I'm going to lean into this trend from last year of Hunter going under the PRA. I was on his points the other night when he got ruled out. The line was 17.5. I don't like it as much at 16.5, and it doesn't look like you're going to get the 17.5 on PrizePicks and Underdog. So the PRA is the next best option, and I'm going to be going with that under on his PRA. All right. 4th bet, we're going with another PRA, and this is another guy who is going to be returning from injury. It's Jeremy Sohan, over 14.5 PRA. Now, the line's 14.5 on Underdog Fantasy. It's 15.5 on PrizePicks, so that's why it's important to have accounts with every single one of these apps and taking advantage of the best line with every opportunity that you get. So Sohan, he only played 1 game. It was first game of the season the other night, but he played 22.6 minutes. So I think that's his floor. I'm assuming he's going to play at least 22 minutes tonight. So I'm going to filter for games where he played 22 or more minutes last season. And then I'm going to go even further because I want to look at the games where Wemby was healthy too, because Wemby is a guy that takes a lot of usage on the team. So this number is going to go down to 16 out of 20 games last season, but it's still a super solid trend. He averaged 24.3 PRA per game when he played 22 or more minutes with Wemby on the floor. Granted, some of these games, he was up near 30 minutes, even up to 40 minutes in one of the overtime games. But I think most likely the outcome is between like 22 and 28 minutes or so. And he averaged 18.5 in that sample size. He can honestly get there on points alone. So I'm okay taking this over 14.5 on Jeremy Sohan, as long as he doesn't randomly get ruled out for some crazy reason on a Friday night. So now we're going to head over to the first half plays. These are my favorite lines in pretty much everything. I love the first half props. They're only on PrizePicks and Underdog Fantasy. So like I said, you got to make sure you're having diversification in the apps that you use, because if you want to take advantage of these first half props, you got to be on the DFS sites. And the lines are usually different between the two of them. So we have Sabonis here, the first half PRA over 16.5. It's 16.5 on PrizePicks. Underdog Fantasy, they haven't released the line yet. And, quite honestly, I've noticed that Underdog Fantasy hasn't been releasing a lot of these first half lines this year, which a little upsetting to me, because there's a huge edge in those, especially when they're usually a point different from PrizePicks. And I much prefer to bet them at Underdog Fantasy because you get some better promotions typically over there. Anyways, I'm going to be on this Sabonis over 16.5. I'll wait for Underdog Fantasy to release a line, but I have a feeling they're not going to at this point. It's around noon right now, and I don't know. We'll see the next few hours, but basically, this was money for us last season. He went over this number in 82% of games, 79% of home games. I want to filter down to games where Zach LaVine played, because I want to only look at the games after the trade, because LaVine is a higher usage guy. And then after the LaVine trade, and there is the one game with the Bulls, so LaVine was still on the Bulls at this point. So you can throw that one out if you want to, but we'll just include it because it's easier. Sabonis went over this number 20 out of 26 games last season. Now, this season, he went off to a slow start. He went under this number in the first 3 games, but he's gotten hot recently, averaging about 20.5 first half PRA over the last 3 games, not going under 19. So I think he's getting back into his swing of things, and I like him to go over this 16.5 PRA number in the first half. I think last year we were getting this number up to even like 18.5 at one point, and we were still cashing it. So I'm okay taking a slight discount. He hasn't looked great this year, but the minutes have been there, and I do like his over first half PRA. I do have a parlay filler with Sabonis that I'll mention while I'm here. I do like his over 9.5 rebounds on the alternate line. So if I filter for games last year, he went over in 64 out of 71 games. Looking at home games, it was 31 out of 34. This year, he's gone over in both home games too, never going below 12, averaging around just over 13 rebounds per game at home the last 2 seasons. So 9.5 is a bit too low. 90% hit rate. I'll take that every single night of the week. I got one more first half play, and then I have one more parlay filler, and then we'll get out of here. So the other first half play I'm on is similar to a bet that I placed the other night. The other night we were on his under on the first half points, and we cashed on this. But I'm going with the under 15.5 first half PRA. Last season, if I look at the games, his full season, he went under in 78% of the games, but I want to filter for games with Wemby active, because like I mentioned with Sohan, he does take a large part of the usage, and I want to make sure I'm painting the full picture when I'm trying to predict these outcomes. And last season, he went under in 39 out of 45 games. You could probably eliminate like the first 5 to 8 games or so here, because that's when he was a rookie, like just getting under his just getting used to the NBA, just starting to get a couple of minutes here and there. You can see the first 5 games, he was only playing like 10 minutes or less. And then he started to get a bit more minutes in the first half, up to about 16, 17 minutes per game in the first half, which he was still going under this number consistently. You can filter even further for home games, and it's an 85% win rate. But no matter what way you look at it, it's a solid play for the under first half PRA for Castle. He's looked good this season. I will give him that, but he has gone under this number in 5 out of 7 games to start the year so far. We're almost to the point in the season where we can start using just this year's numbers, maybe another 2-3 weeks, and we'll only be focusing on the current year stuff. But as of now, we'll keep looking at the 2-year sample size, especially for these teams who didn't have a ton of turnover. And for the most part, they're in the same scenarios as last year. Whereas you have some of these other teams, like the Raptors, for one, because they added Brandon Ingram, where, a little bit different starting lineup. The Nets, the whole team is different. You really can't look at last year's stats for those teams because it's just a completely different situation. But for teams like the Spurs, the Celtics, and a lot of these other teams where they're starting five for the most part, it's the same. You can generally look at last year's stats and combine it with this year's. So that's going to wrap it up for the straight bets. I have one parlay filler before we get out of here. Just give me a quick second. All right. So my parlay filler, we're going back to him. If you're in the Discord server, you're probably hating me for this because, we have been shitting on Derek White the entire season. It's been so bad, like really bad. But basically, I'm going with his over 19.5 PRA. I absolutely give up on his 3-pointers made. Like, it's just been bad. He's burned us 3 out of the 5 times that we've taken him. It's just, I give up. You win. Like, I'm done. So we're going with the over 19.5 PRA, though. He's actually gone over this number in 8 out of 9 games, even with his absolutely terrible shooting. I'm not expecting this game to turn to a blowout. It's going to be pretty close. Boston's a 3.5-point underdog against the Magic tonight, which is promising. And then if I filter for games without Jason Tatum over the last 2 seasons, there's been 20 games, 11 games last year, 9 games this year. Derek White's gone over this PRA number in 18 out of 20 games, so a 90% win rate, averaging 26 PRA per game. If you want to go even further and look at games like without Tatum, but with Brown, the sample size, it's the same thing. There was only 1 game less, but theoretically, that's probably the right way you should do this because you do want to try to paint the full picture. But anyways, it's still a 26 average. She still went over this number about 90% of the time. I feel a lot more confident in this 19.5 PRA than I feel about his over 2.5 3-pointers made, which, tonight's going to be the night that I jump off it and he makes like 6 3-pointers. But you know what? I'm going to play it safe tonight. We're going with a 19.5 PRA. But that's going to wrap things up. That is all of my NBA plays for the day. That I don't do NBA videos on Saturday or Sunday. So if you're looking for those, or if you want to see my NBA plays, that's where the VIPs get the benefit. They see all of my plays throughout the weekend for NBA. I will have a video posted late, like really late Saturday night, early Sunday morning with all of my NFL picks for the week that I release every single week. That's usually a really good hit because we have been on an absolute tear in the NFL lately. I think I've profited the last 6 weeks in a row. It's been an unbelievable run this NFL season so far. But like I mentioned before, join the free Discord server if you're not in there already. The link to join is in the description below. And best of luck on your bets tonight, everybody. Thanks for watching.